everybody! Welcome to episode 11 of Brownie Knits. I'm your host Gina, also known as Brownie Knits, all one word, on Instagram and Ravelry. You can join our Brownie Knits Ravelry group and chat along with us about everything in the podcast, enter for giveaways, and join some of our knit-alongs that we're doing. So this episode is going to have a little bit about the release of Block 3 of our Brownie Knits 2015 Block Blanket Along. That's a year-long blanket knit-along that we're doing in my group. And each month on the first Wednesday of the month, I'll release that month's pattern, and a corresponding podcast will talk a little bit about it. If there are some trickier techniques, I might have a techniques video that comes out then. And then we make our blocks and we share them on Ravelry and Instagram. We tag them with bkblanketalong, and we can see each other's progress. And at the end of the year, we'll have a blanket. And for some of you, you're making 2 of them, so you'll have 2 blankets. So we'll go through that a little bit first, and then we'll go through some finished objects and what I'm currently knitting, and talk about some swaps and knit-alongs, and just have some fun. So, all right. So this month, block 3 is obviously March. My previous 2 blocks for January and February were each inspired by a previous design I had worked on. This month was purely inspired by the fact that it's March and things will be waking up and turning into spring here where I live, and it has St. Patrick's Day in it. And St. Patrick's Day is a little bit of a special thing around our house because my husband Patrick, was born the day after Thanksgiving, was born the day after St. Patrick's Day. So, I went with, and you've probably have come across this pattern in other knitting before, but I took the Cloverleafs pattern and worked out the math so that it would come out to our block size, set it up with the garter around it, and wrote that up for you. So it's a little Cloverleafs block. I really like it. Now, when I designed it, I did just the 3 for a clover leaf, but if you wanted to, I think it'd be really cute, and I didn't think to do this until after I was done knitting all of mine, but you could throw in maybe 1 4-leaf clover in there somewhere. My mom was known for being able to walk outside and decide that she was going to find a 4-leaf clover, and she would do it. It was absolutely crazy. I can remember my dad and I just being amazed at how she always found them. Out of this sea of green, she would just find them. But anyway, so this one, you start off with our normal that we've been doing along the bottom with your garter edge. And then we've got a few rows there of just stockinette to give us a little bit of rest before we start our clover leaves. And then you'll do this first set, and then the next set is is offset from the first one, so that they're staggered all the way up. And then you just keep repeating that until you are a little bit from your desired depth, and it tells you in the pattern. And then you'll do the reverse of what we did at the bottom. So you'll have a little bit of stockinette for a little bit of a rest, and then your garter stitch top. So there it is in the Berroco Vintage in the mushroom colorway. And for those of you who are getting a bigger block, because your gauge is a little bit bigger, this one should work just fine for you, as written. And then I also knitted it. I'm making 2 blankets. Actually, we'll see. It might end up being 3. I also knitted it out of Miss Babs Yowzal. And I apologize. Oh, it's the color is Circus Peanuts. And I just thought it was so cute in this one. I love how it turned out. My second blanket's going to be really colorful. I'm using a mixture of Miss Babs Vintage from Berroco and Dream in Color. And they're all in like oranges and reds. So I just had stuff in my stash and decided that I wanted to use that up for a second blanket. So in my downstairs, our downstairs is like kind of an open living plan. So our kitchen flows into the living room and then into the family room and the dining room. And the dining room's a little bit offset, but the rest of it is full of color. I have a lot of reds, and I have a couch in one room that's red, and I have my family room set is in like a melon color. So I'm not afraid of color. I absolutely love color. So I thought that this blanket would really tie in with those two rooms well. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. It should be a fairly easy knit. It uses yarn overs and slip knits, and I go over how to do both of those in a previous video that I uploaded to my Brownie Knits YouTube channel, techniques for the Brownie Knits 2015 block blanket. And so everything that you need is demonstrated there if you need any help. And if that's not enough, please feel free to contact me. You can private message me in Ravelry. You can post on the Ravelry board. You can contact me on Instagram or on the Brownie Knits website, and or at brownieknits@yahoo.com. So, all right. Not a whole lot to say about that one this week. All right, so what else do we have going on? So I wanted to get that out of the way before I did any chatting, so that if anybody just wanted to watch that portion, they could. I am going to talk a little bit about blocking, so you might, if you want to hear about that now, you might stick around for that a little bit later. But so what has been going on here? Well, I live just north of Indianapolis in Indiana, which is in the Midwest in the United States. And Indiana is known for having huge weather swings. They always say, if you don't like the weather today in Indiana, stay around and it'll be different tomorrow. And on Sunday, today is Tuesday. I record on Tuesdays and edit on Tuesdays and then upload my videos on Wednesdays. And this past Sunday, we were supposed to get around 4 inches of snow, and we got around 9 instead. And then it was really cold. And today, as always, it seems when I'm recording, it is raining. It's actually icing, did this morning, and has caused a lot of traffic issues for people who have to drive into work and schools and stuff. So we have the 9 inches, some of that melted with some of the rain and sleet and ice, but then it has this nice crispy, crunchy ice on top of it. And the real problem is that it creates what's called black ice on the roads. So the road might look wet, or in some cases, depending on the color of the asphalt, might look a little bit normal. And then before you know it, you're on ice and you're sliding all over the place. And then today this afternoon, it's supposed to rain heavily. And then in some of the forecast, I saw that we might get more snow tomorrow. And then this weekend, it's supposed to be nice and bright and shiny and sunny and in the 40s, which I think will feel a little bit like a heat wave to us after having below 0 Fahrenheit temperatures. So, like I said, if you stick around, then you will get the kind of weather that you want. In the midst of all of that, really, we had a huge cold snap where the highs each day were like 1 or 2 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning the lows at night were pretty far below 0. And we had tickets to go to an IU basketball game. And so Patrick and I usually stay at this hotel that we like in Bloomington. And then we walk from our hotel to this little restaurant we like to go to before we go to the games, and walk back to the hotel and then drive over to the game. And then you have to, from the place that you park into the stadium, can be quite of a haul. So here we were. It was so cold, and there was a wind chill advisory, and it was just absolutely freezing. And here we were walking all around, but it was okay. We bundled up and we were okay. And I went to the game that we went to was the IU Purdue University game, which is a huge rivalry. It's in two in-state universities, so a lot of people have family members who have gone to both. So it's just kind of a fun little rivalry to have. And unfortunately, IU lost that game at home, and that's, as Patrick always says, that's unacceptable for you IU fans, isn't it? And it was really pretty devastating, but it was fun to be at Assembly Hall anyway. And I did take a little video that'll be at the end of this podcast for any of you who want to see some snippets of what it's like amidst the fans at an NCAA basketball game in a stadium. It's quite fun. I enjoy it. So there was a little boy who I don't even know if he was 2, but he was probably 2, that sat next to me, and that was the first game that he was going to with his dad, and his dad was telling me that he always went to the basketball games with his dad, and so it was very special for them. It was very cute to see the little boy and hear him being taught all the rules of the game by his dad. I did almost turn around at one point and tell the guy behind me to knock it off because he was being really obnoxious. And I didn't want to hear it, but I also didn't want this little 2-year-old hearing it. He was kind of, but I guess that's what you get, if you go to okay. And what else has been going on? I spent a lot of time one week reading The Girl on the Train, which is by Paula Hawkins, and I'm sure you've heard about it. It's on all the bestseller lists right now. A lot of people are reading it, but it was really good. So I read that across a couple days. It was that good. You just finish it really fast. And then this past weekend on Saturday, we went out and did a few errands. I had to get my passport updated. So did a passport photo, and it is so blurry. I have it looks like there's kind of 2 of me in the photo. It's like a haloed effect. I was like, I can't believe that. It's such poor quality, but that's, that's what they require. So anyway, and then we went to one of our favorite restaurants in Indianapolis. It's in a little village called Broadripple, and it is called Bruges. It's a Belgian restaurant, and they have their own beers. I think they have their own beers. I'm not a beer drinker. My husband's the beer drinker. If they don't, they have local beers, I think. I really don't know. Anyway, he likes to go there for the beer, but they also have pommes frites, and they're so good, and you can get different dipping sauces and stuff. So we went there and just spent some time together and talked, and it was really a fun little afternoon for us. So, all right, enough babbling, right? You're here for the knitting and the crocheting. So, finished objects. The first thing I finished, actually wore to get my passport photo taken, and it is the 3-color Cashmere Cowl by Joji Locatelli. And I did mine in the Fibre Company Canopy fingering weight, and the colors are Obsidian, Purple Passion, and Crocus. And I just love how it turned out. And you never get bored with the pattern because you're constantly changing into something new. You're either changing a color or you're changing your stitch combination. And the purple section, you can see, has just a little bit of texture in there. And then the little lace at the top is very, very pretty. And when you join your different colors, for your jogs, I really liked her suggestion. You can see the jog a little bit in the stripe section because you're switching it so often. But down in here, let's say down in here where we joined from one color to the next, you really don't see much of a jog at all. And that's because she has you, so when you switch your color, the first row of your new color, you just work like normal. But when you get to that first stitch of the new color on the second row, you slip it as if to purl. And it just kind of helps the jog go away. Like I said, if you're doing it really close together constantly and pulling and straining it up, it's not going to get it to go away 100%. But in the sections where it wasn't the stripes, I mean, you just really can have a hard time even seeing it. So I thought that worked really well. And I loved the pattern completely. I love the final result. And she's such a good designer. And I have a lot of her stuff queued up to knit. I'm really infatuated with her designs right now. So it would make a great gift knit. Or just for yourself. So that was one finished item. My other finished item that I have to show you are my Dancing Dog Dyeworks socks. And this is in the Gingerbread Houses colorway. And I just did a normal vanilla sock. I used, I think, 64 stitches, and I used a size US 1 needle. And I did the Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I really loved. So I just thought they turned out so cute. I really, really liked them. And I had enough of this yarn left over so that I could make some mini skeins for some swaps and giveaways, and still have enough even then to do some squares in a new blanket that I started. So that's a lot of fun. I had two other finished items that I completed since I talked to you guys last time. One of them was for my Swap for All Seasons swap partner, Hannah, and I don't want to show those things on here until after Hannah has received them. So I made her something. I really enjoyed making it. I loved the yarn I used, and I loved the final result. I think I will definitely be making one for myself. And I did take pictures so that after Hannah confirms that she's received the package, I can tap a picture into one of the future podcasts and share with you guys what it was. So that was one thing that I finished. Another thing that I finished and have since mailed on its way, in my Brownie Knits Etsy shop, I sell made items for those who don't knit or crochet. And I do mostly things that I have designed. If it's not something I designed, I try to only use patterns where they explicitly say that you can sell them. But anyway, I had somebody order one of my beach bands, which is a headband made out of like a linen or a cotton or a blend of those. And you can wear it scrunched up on your head like a normal headband. And then after you swim, get out of the ocean or the pool, you can expand it and it kind of covers your hair, so you don't have to worry about what your hair looks like. And it has an adjustable band on a button band. So it has like 5 buttonholes, and you can then button it wherever. So if you need a little more room when your hair is dry and a little less room when it's wet, and then you can adjust the thing. And I have worn mine into the ocean constantly. Like a lot of times I won't even take it off when I go in, and it gets wet, it dries, it's fine. So I really love that pattern, and it's available in Ravelry and Craftsy, BrownieKnits.com, and that one's also available on knitpicks.com too, in one of their yarns. So I did finish both of those projects in addition to the finished items I just saw you. I also finished up some more blocks for the block blanket for the future months, but that's it. I didn't really get a lot of other stuff finished, but I did make some progress on some works in progress. I'm going to start with this one. I showed this before and it was just starting. This is the Rockefeller shawl by Stephen West, and I'm using the yarn is Baah, and I finished section 1 at the top with your little wedges. And then now I'm into section 2, where you have these little striped garter areas coming over and some eyelets. And I'm really enjoying it. You can't see how beautiful it is because one, it's a very, very electric blue color, and then like a really beautiful sea blue color at the lighter one. And I cannot get it to photograph accurately on any of my devices or cameras. It just does not want to pick up the brilliance. So it's really, really even more gorgeous in person. It's also all scrunched up on the needles here. But I'm really excited. I had hoped to have this one done by now, but I got distracted by something that I'll show you here in a minute. And so I'm hoping by the next time we speak to have this one done. I also haven't worked on my Ishbel at all, and I hope to have that one done by the next time too. So I made a deal with myself this morning that I can't start anything new beyond what I already have in this basket until I get at least one of those shawls done, preferably both. So put that away. Next up is I'm doing these as part of the Spring into Socks. Is that what it's called? Yeah. For the Bakery Bears, they're doing a knit along. And for March. And so I cast it on. I'm using some yarn I got for Christmas from Patrick. It's Turtlepurl Toes. Turtlepurl Yarns Turtle Toes. Striped turtle toes. In the color Nano. And this is what it looks like in the skein. And then here it is in the sock. And again, these are showing more muted. They're really bright in person. And I just started these last night. So I did my top. And I'm probably just going to do vanilla with a fish lips kiss heel. Just because with yarn that stripes like that much as the turtle toes does, I really like to keep it kind of simple. Because the yarn has so much going on, I don't really want a pattern in there to do that too. So I have those going on. Like I said, I have my Ishbel going on, and then I have my catkin wound up to start in full. But I haven't done that yet. But I did start this. Okay, so I, like a lot of people, have tons of leftover sock yarn, but my feet are so small. I have a lot from each ball left over. And so one of my goals this year was to figure out a way to use up all of that and get it out of my craft closet, kind of stash down my leftover stash. And I'm not completely drawn to the sock yarn blanket. Some people are calling them sock yarn blanket. I know there's a pattern, several patterns in Ravelry called that for it. And then some people call them the Cozy Memories blanket. They're the little mitered squares. I'm not 100% drawn into it. I see some and I'm like, I love that one. And then I see another and I'm not so fond of it. But I loved the crocheted ones that I was seeing. And so I went and picked up a skein of turquoise yarn. This is, I think it's Spud Chloe Fine, which is a fingering weight in this turquoise. And I grabbed my sock yarn bag and did little granny squares of my sock over my sock leftover bits. And I just absolutely love it. It's turning out so cute. And I think I have 15 on here right now. I'm not sure how wide or long I'm going to make it yet. So I thought I'd start with 15 wide and then just build down in length and then see, once I get so far, what I want to do. And I'm thinking after I get mine done that I'm going to want to do quite a few rows of a border around, because I did that on my Unique Sheep crochet block blanket a few years ago, and it really just ties it all together, makes it look finished, just really kind of pops everything. So I really want to do that. So we'll see how big it ends up getting. But because of this, I asked in the group if anybody else was interested, and if so, I'd open a little unofficial knit along, crochet along on our board. And several people responded. Rosalie and Kim, you both responded pretty fast. So I opened up a thread, and I named it Scrapghan, Scrapghan Cowl. So knit along, crochet along. And so it's unofficial in the sense that I'm not writing a pattern for it. It's not from mine. You can use any pattern you want. And I'm not doing any techniques videos or anything like that. So it's for us to encourage each other, share pictures, chat about our blankets, and just kind of help each other along, because it can be kind of a long process to get something like this completed. And so feel free to join in on that. And it doesn't just have to be leftover sock weight. If you're doing any kind of concept blanket like this, where it's, a bunch of little squares and stuff, and you're putting them together, I think Kim is using worsted weight and doing her blocks. And I think she's doing mitered squares. Rosalie, I think you're doing mitered squares too out of sock yarn. It can also be stuff that you have in your stash, and you just want to throw a bunch of your stash yarn that you don't know what you're going to do with this skein or this skein, but they're the same weight, and you want to throw them all together and do a blanket. There's not really a hard and fast rule other than it needs to be a blanket, really, Afghan. So feel free to join in the group, even if you've had it on your needles and hooks for years or whatever. And I also wanted to mention, as part of that I do still have the mini Skein Swap thread open, and that's open until March 11th. And then I'll have your swap partners assigned to you by March 13th. And I adjusted it a little bit. I had it as 10 gram skeins, and then once I started doing these, I realized that was probably a little overkill and might be deterring some people. So I changed it to 5 7-gram skeins. With 7 grams, you can get 2 granny squares out of these. So I felt like then your knitting ones would be fine, as crochet uses more yarn. So if you're interested in joining that thread, go and sign up. It's on the Brownie Knits Ravelry board, and it's the mini Skein Swap. And yeah, I think we have, including myself, I think we only have 4 right now, so I'm hoping that grows. But even if it doesn't, the 4 of us will send to a swap partner. What else do I want to say about that one? Anything? Yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to say about that. When you are making any kind of block knit or crochet blanket, you of course then have to figure out how you're going to seam it. For my crocheted one, I'm joining it as I'm going, and there is a video on YouTube. I believe the lady's name is Heather, and I will put a link in the show notes to it, and she shows you how to join on your last round for these granny squares. And it's very simple to do. And so I will put a link to that in case you are interested in joining crocheted squares together, so that you can see that. So that's how you can crochet the blocks together. You can also, if you're doing blocks like we are for our block blanket, you can use mattress stitch to put your garter together. And I think a lot of people are very used to using mattress stitch for stocking knit, where you're, going down below the V, and then on the other side doing the same thing. But for garter, you can use those little bumps on the side and go in the bump on one side, on one block, and then into the bump on the other block, and just keep going back and forth with your tapestry needle and seaming thread until you have it closed up. Pull on it, and then you shouldn't be able to see the seaming thread. So those are two options for putting your blocks together. You can crochet them together, you can mattress stitch them together. If you're doing the mitered squares, there are some videos out there from other designers or knitters who have done the block mitered square blocks that shows you how to pick up the stitches from your block that you just finished and then knit your next mitered square. So you end up picking up some of the stitches and casting on some. And that's a really, if I were making the mitered squared block, that blanket, is how I would do it. But you certainly don't have to do it that way. Additionally, the sock yarn blanket by, I think, Shelly Kang has, if you click on her blog, she does have a specific link to how she seamed her mitered blocks together. So there are some options for you. So that's a little bit about seaming. I also wanted to talk a little bit about blocking because we've had some people in the group asking about that for our block blankets. So I like to, pretty much anything I knit, regardless of what the fiber is, even if it's acrylic, I will wash it in the sink in some eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is my favorite, and then soak after that. So I'll let it sit in some water with the eucalyptus, and then I'll roll it in a towel, and then I will get out my blocking board that is, it has numbers on it so that I can measure, see all the measurements. But before I had a blocking board, I would just lay towels down in our spare bedroom. I would put towels down to hold the water, and then I would get my measuring tape so that I could just pin it to the measurements I wanted using my measuring tape. So you can do it either way. And then I use my T pins that look like a T, and I pin them out to the size. And I use a lot of T pins on my blocks just to make sure they stay where I want them. When I block blocks, I can't remember which one of you said that. You got a chuckle out of me saying block the block, but that's what you're doing, block the block. It is kind of, but it does sound funny. When I block the block, I like to block them slightly bigger than what I want them to be after they're dried. Because when I'm going to speak just for myself, when I'm using merino blends or wool and acrylic blends in the vintage, and I am putting them in my house to dry, my house is super dry in the winter, and when they get unpinned, they might go down a little bit smaller than what I want the finished size to be. So for these, for example, I block them, I want them to be 12 by 12, so I block them a little over 12. And so then after they're dry and I take the pins out and they lose a little bit of that spring, they're 12 by 12. So as we get further along in the blanket, I will definitely do a techniques video where I show you me physically blocking some blocks. But I wanted to go ahead and address it since we do have a lot of people who are wanting to go ahead and block as we go along, and maybe you haven't done blocking before. So it's just a little quick speaking tutorial, and then I'll do an actual techniques video in the future. All right, so I wanted to show you guys what you could get for registering for our next podcast giveaway. And the next podcast giveaway gets drawn for on March 18th, in that March 18th episode. So I'll draw on March 17th. And you're going to get quite a few nice little items. You'll get this little sock bag by Erin of Holland Handmade. And it's just adorable and very well made. Very cute fabric. And then inside, from Jill's Handmade Stuff, are these adorable stitch markers and stitch mark holder. And I love this little turtle. Let me see if we can get him. You see his little, let's see, there we go. His little face is so cute. He is so cute. So you'll have those from Jill's Handmade Stuff and the bag, and then it's full of mini skeins. So I put these together this weekend. I did spend some time going through and making little skeins. So here's the one for my socks from the Dancing Dog Dyeworks. And this little blue one that has a lot of high and low notes within it is Koigu. Here's the Madeline Tosh sock. And this is also Madeline Tosh sock in this fun variegated. And then a little skein of Malabrigo sock. So, and those are each 10 grams. So you should be able to get quite a few little blocks out of that, or, you know, a little project that you wanted to do. So to register for this giveaway, go up to the Brownie Knits Ravelry group to the Final Four thread and answer the questions about your alma mater. And then we will draw on March 17th and see who the lucky winner is. So, and for all of my swaps and giveaways, they are open internationally. So somebody asked that, and I absolutely want to be welcoming to everybody. So yep, they're all open to everybody. I have notes down here so that I don't have to like grab stuff. I'm not sure how that's going to work in comparison. Maybe it's a little bit better, maybe not. I think that's really everything. So the next time I speak to you through the video will be on March 18th when we do the giveaway prize, and that'll be Patrick's birthday, so another year. So if you are interested in seeing the IU assembly haul video, stick around and it'll be appearing here shortly. So otherwise, happy knitting and crocheting, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.